Welcome to BlueGoldNews.com. Here we are downtown Kansas City, second day of the Big 12 tournament. Actually got started last night. Texas got a win, Oklahoma State got a win. Start real quick with that, Kevin. What do you think? I mean, both those teams are trying to find their way into the NCAA tournament. Secure spots for them. Both were bubble teams. What do you think it does for them? And also one of the teams that lost, Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma State maybe needs one more win. You know, they were right on that border, and so much of it too depends on what other teams do. It's not just a did you win, it's what those other teams do that you're fighting with. But obviously that helped Oklahoma State. I thought Oklahoma was kind of listless, to be honest, with so much on the line for playing for that. I know they've got the quadruple one wins, which seem to be the rage in evaluating NCAA teams this year, but I just can't put them in, you know, going out with so far below 500 in the conference. I know they had some good wins, but a lot of bad losses too. You know, in Texas, I think they showed that they're in, and you know, I think they're going to get some count for the fact that without Bama playing, they still won. And evaluators and people on the committee are going to look and say, hey, if he's back, that's definitely a tournament team.
Yeah, the injuries certainly are a factor here in Kansas City. Obviously, you mentioned Mo Bamba out for Texas. We don't know if he'll play today, but probably not, considering he's missed a couple of weeks and also did not play last night. The other one, Azubuike, the big center for Kansas, and they face Oklahoma State this afternoon. Azubuike, even with him in the lineup, Kansas has not found the way to beat Oklahoma State. Lost to them twice. The first team in the 15 years of Bill Self to sweep the Jayhawks in the regular season. So even though they're the 8th seed, you can't count out the Cowboys with yet another win.
I don't think so, but the one thing you know, they're going to have Kansas' attention. And Kansas is going to play the card, hey, we had already locked up the regular season title, the #1 seed, knew we were okay, you know, how much effort was there. And while Kansas is still a really good team, it's not quite as good as some of the other teams that they've had during this run. So, yeah, I really think they're going to get Kansas' best effort tonight. To be honest, I'd be surprised if Kansas doesn't win this one, even with or without Azubuike.
4 games here in Kansas City today. Quarterfinal round. West Virginia is the last game of the night. Obviously, they faced Baylor. Listed at 9 o'clock. Realistically, it's going to be started at earliest at 9:30. First of all, we saw some of the minors. You got to interview them in the afternoon. We saw a few of them at the evening session games last night as well. You know, everybody asks about mood. It's always hard to tell, but your thoughts of interviewing guys, and then also we were seated next to them last night for some of the games.
Coaches and players said that they had good practice sessions since Texas. That they were happy with the energy, with everything. Javon Carter, who's notably laconic in interviews now, I think he's getting a little weary to the whole process, and you can understand why. You know, even he said that he felt like the energy was good, the attention was good. West Virginia had its shoot around on Wednesday afternoon, and it was, you know, kind of hit or miss in some spots, but they were having fun. There was a big joking moment at the beginning of practice when they were running together, and guys were laughing, and sometimes I think that's as important as all the locked-in stuff. You know, you can't be locked in 36 hours before the game or 40 hours before the game. So I am hopeful. You know, I think that West Virginia is in a good frame of mind for this game, and we're going to see a pretty good effort.
Just tell you how locked in kids get into their own world. Talking to some of the Mountaineer players, they're watching Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. They had no idea that Oklahoma was a 9 seed. I mean, just the reputation-wise, that what? They're the 9. It is amazing. You get caught up in what you're doing, and you don't worry about a whole lot else. So, what, in terms of what West Virginia has to do, start with the Mountaineer side of things. What are some of the things that they need to do, at least tonight in the quarterfinal round?
To me, it's rebounding, and that's one of a couple of the keys that Bob Huggins talked about. But the matchup of Baylor's offensive rebounding versus West Virginia's defensive rebounding, which has been subpar for a Huggins team. You know, I guess you can put numbers on it a little bit. If I had to do that, you think Sags is going to get his normal 8 to 10. But guys like Lamar West and Issa Ahmad and Wesley Harris, they've got to get 5 or 6 each. To me, that's the important part. You know, Javon is going to get some. You know, Dax slipping down the lane, especially on the offensive end, he's going to get a couple. But those forwards are the big key for me. If they can get 5 or 6 each, negate some of those Baylor offensive rebounds, I think that puts the Mountaineers in a good place.
Yeah, offensively, West Virginia, and everybody has to solve the riddle of the Baylor zone. But Baylor also has had a lot of trouble against West Virginia's defense. Manu Kant, a very good point guard, has been limited. Terry Matson, who was the 6th man of the year, coming out of the Big 12 Conference. He's had struggles in their 2 games against West Virginia. So slowing those 2 guys down, as much as we talk about the big guys for Baylor, slowing those 2 down still key for the Mountaineers?
I think so, and I don't think, though, that you can expect that they're going to have the kind of subpar games that they did those first 2 games. You got to expect they're going to do some stuff because they're good. They're out there tomorrow. The other thing that kind of impressed me is that Chul, their big center, his offensive game has really come along. And it's kind of like Sagaba Kanate's off-season performance. I don't think anybody was expecting him to do in the post what he did this year. But Chul's kind of the same way. He's developed a little jump up and a little step back thing, and that's pretty much unblockable too at his height if he releases it, gets it in rhythm. So yeah, I think those guys are obviously still the key. Keep the ball away from LeCompte as much as possible, and don't let him reverse it. Keep it on one side of the floor.
Yeah, and that's obviously the thing Huggins preaches. And you looked at the stats from the last 2 games West Virginia's faced the Bears, limited them to less than 35% shooting in each game. I think the total is 39 of 112 in those 2 games combined. So obviously West Virginia's defense really bothered the Bears a great deal. Easy to say, just have to do that again, but that's always easier said than done.
Yeah, and Hugs talked about that a little bit yesterday. The second game, he just pretty much wrote it off, said Baylor. And I think that's a fair assessment. West Virginia had something to do with that, obviously, but every team has those 2 or 3 games a year where you can have just nothing's going right. And I think that was one for Baylor. And there's just no way you can count on that again because, again, they're another rebel team. They're another team that needs to win to solidify, I think, where it is. They're going to be going out just like Texas was in the regular season finale against West Virginia.
Good crowd so far in Kansas City. Wasn't full at the Sprint Center last night, though you would have sort of thought Oklahoma State would have brought a bunch of people, but Iowa State is typical. Their fans probably dominated the crowd last night, but they're gone, so we can see what the crowd's like today.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many of those people come back. Oklahoma has come, okay for the tournament, I guess, in years past. Obviously, when they've been good, they've been better, but it's an Iowa State crowd is number 1A to Kansas is number 1, and obviously Kansas will have a bunch of people there today. And K-State is a little bit further, but they're along in the same space, so they're the ones that you depend on the crowd to be big for. Let's add, maybe I saw a few more West Virginia fans. Don't know if they're getting the message about the way this tournament plays out and everything there is to do in Kansas City. But yeah, I think the crowd was a little better than expected last night, given Iowa State's seed at the bottom, and that there wasn't a ton of excitement there for them. No matter what, I think you get to Friday and Saturday, it's going to be a battle.
Yeah, considering West Virginia didn't play last night, there were a nice gathering among the fans. I'm not going to say there were thousands there, but we'll see how many more show up for the night session. Again, Texas Tech, Texas in the first game tonight, and then West Virginia, Baylor in the second. So not teams that are necessarily real local, unlike Kansas that plays in the afternoon section.
Yeah. And it's always odd or strange. Actually, we see some Iowa State fans checking out behind us right now with the media and the team hotel for several of the teams, and always a lot of Iowa State fans here. So yeah, it's how many of them say, hey, this is a week we're taking off to go down there versus we're just here for Iowa State and we're going to bail out. It's going to be a little different dynamic, I think, today and Friday.
Well, that's it for this afternoon. Obviously, Mountaineers about 9:30 tonight probably should be tipped off. Stay at BlueGoldNews.com for all the coverage. We'll have plenty, video-wise, written stories, everything.